Hello and welcome to Distance Learning. This is a slideshow looking at sort of cubism, notions of cubist time in photography. It relates to assignment 4 and also like exercise 5. But again, sort of like when we were looking at multiple panels of images, it relates to it conceptually, gets at ideas that both share, but I'm not showing you people that are necessarily what I want you to do for the homework, right? So think about these things, the issues they raise, how they work, but then get rid of the assignment. Come on. All right. So one of the big things that we're going to be looking at is one overall image that is composed of multiple images, right? Made up of all of these different moments or instants in time, and how that can be more similar to how we actually perceive things, right? That the way that we understand the world around us is not in a single instant pop frame that just sits there, but in a continuous series of overlapping experiences. Mochizuki Masao, he is a Japanese photographer, made this work in, I guess it says on there, 75, 76. Television, he's working with a camera where it's like a Mamiya C330 or something like that. You look down into it, has a ground glass where you make a grid on it, and he sort of positions it so the TV screen in his darkened living room is in the first frame on his grid, takes a picture, right? Cocks the shutter without advancing the film, moves the camera over so it's now in the second little grid box on his ground glass, sees something else, takes a picture, right? Cocks the shutter, doesn't advance the film, shifts over again so that now the TV screen is in the third frame, and repeats. And so you get these moments from the television show that are built up into this grid, right? So television, which is this sort of linear experience, right? Especially at this moment, right? This moment being like whenever he's doing this. There is no stop, there is no pause, there is no rewind, there is no record. It is just a thing that comes out over the airwaves into this box live and out to you. And so he's able to take that durational experience and put it all together into this single photographic image, right? Where we sort of are experiencing it in a new way. We can sort of like gestalt see all of it all at once, right? So multiple moments, multiple viewpoints, multiple images, multiple pieces of time simultaneously. And that, for me, is one of the things that's so interesting about this work. I mean, there's also like the camera, like taking a picture of another camera, the idea of television, being photographed is all very strange. Then he starts to build up multiple of these sort of square grids into these much larger pieces. So this is like one print, one print, one print, one print, one print, one print. So that's 6 square images all sort of like pieced together into this gigantic image. And you get these great moments where we're sort of reminded of the action of doing this. Like, you know, he missed one, right? He's going along, he's taking a picture. He's like, oh, I think I got that square already. I'll move on to the next one. And nope, he didn't. Sorry. This is, I think this is the Ali Frazier boxing match. Very famous boxing match. I don't know anything about boxing. Baseball game, right? So it's interesting, right? The television too at that time, it's just coming at you, right? So he's making these decisions about when to make a photograph. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. He has to assume that there will be something else interesting happening, that this is interesting enough to be made into a photograph. Yeah, it's sort of like, because he's looking just at a blank ground glass the whole time, right? He's not getting any feedback on what did I just take a picture of? What are the last 5 things? It's really sort of artful composition. And you start to see like the way that the television works, right? These sort of like repeated shots, right? The different sort of like subject where there's this like, okay, well, these are all sort of one tone, and then there's this like singular moment here with the shot of the sun. I don't honestly remember what this series of images is of. I think this is Yellowstone. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. Or a volcano or something. Who cares? But you're seeing this experience of TV in a completely different way, right? All of a sudden you have this like, moment where he's synthesized an entire hour-long program into something where you're seeing all the bits coming at you. Go through some more of these. This is this piece on Salvador Dali, right? There's Dali in there. Strange abstractions, close-up of faces, weird little moments of titles. And this is an interview with Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the author, where, right, TV back in the day, right, it didn't go on all the time. Like at the end of the day, it stopped. And so here we just have these frames that are just the static, right, where it's like, okay, well, they've gone off air, but I've still got X more frames I need to fill. I guess like until the grid is full of images, right? So again, it's both the record of the television program, but it's also a record of his act of watching it, right? It's not just showing you the thing, but it's talking about the experience of being there, seeing the thing. And that's very much something that comes into notions of sort of cubism and cubist time. Barbara Probst, and again, all of these are in the slideshow, so I may skip over some of these folks a little bit faster. Her work I really love. She's working a lot with multiple cameras, taking pictures at the same instant. So if Mochizuki Masao is showing us a durational experience at one moment, Barbara Probst is getting into the idea of any given thing you can see from multiple angles, right? The camera pretends that there's only one viewpoint, right? We ourselves think very often of ourselves, that singular viewpoint that we have, as being the only viewpoint. And yet, even just this super simple diptych where there's 2 cameras, one that she's looking at, one that her daughter is looking at, both of them fire at the same moment. And so we have these 2 pictures that are the same, but slightly different, right? That little reminder that everything can be seen from literally more than one viewpoint, more than one angle. That everything, if I pick up, this coffee cup, right? There's the side that I can see, and yet there is always still the side that I cannot see, right? It's still there. It's still just as real, like looking into the cup, right? Even if I'm not doing it, whatever's in the cup is always still there, and it's kind of gross. So Barbara Probst, super, super fascinating, really kind of exploding the notion of the singular photograph as something which is a bearer of truth or a witnesser of truth. When you do the cubism reading, right, this idea of the virtual reality or a mimetic presentation where they're showing you something that is meant to look exactly like, what I see in that moment staring at it, rather than trying to give you something which is evocative of the experience of what seeing, perceiving, living is actually like, right? Trying to trade, get rid of that virtual reality, get rid of that mimetic presentation for something which is more real or more true to how perception experience functions. So here again, Barbara Probst. Right here we have these feet looking down on someone with a scarf. There we see the person with a scarf in a mirror from a very low vantage point. Now it's in black and white. Here it's in black and white. We're very far away. We now know that we're looking into a room that we didn't understand in the same way before. We know the room has doors. It feels, there's like European lock, etc. And then that last one that's close up with this winter scene behind her that, again, if we just saw this picture, right, what would our understanding be? Our understanding would be that she is out there in the woods with a scarf. But because we have seen all of these other things, right, we have the idea of how big the space is. We have an idea of where the space is. We have this moment where she's looking at this photograph of this older couple that perhaps it's their parents, right? We have this viewpoint of a person who is perhaps the photographer, but also seems maybe to be naked. All of these different moments happening at the same instant, telling us, listen, there is no singular viewpoint. There is no one photographic instantaneous truth. Again, you can go through these slides. Her work is really, really, really good. Like, I definitely go to the website, click on the link, look it up. It's so strong. It's also beautiful, right? Like, I mean, the color, the simplicity, the arrangement, the composition. She's working with what, 12 different cameras here. We're seeing the cameras, right? She's letting us know what's happening. There's still a level of abstraction there. Like, fuck me, it's so good. Like, even the simple ones, right? Like close up of the foot, viewpoint of the person taking the picture of the foot. Who's the author of the work, right? Which person behind which camera is the person making the image? Which one is more real? Which one is a sort of privileged, more authentic, authorial viewpoint, right? All of that's undermined. It's sort of cinematic too in some of these. So gorgeous. Like, god damn, look at the color. Like, ah.